Committee. Sir, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks for coming on.
Great to have you. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms watching.
Indeed. Happy Mother's Day. Sir, are you convinced that Robert Mueller is going to testify before Congress?
I certainly hope so. I know the Judiciary Committee is in conversations with Mr. Mueller. It will not happen next week. I think the chairman has said that. But our hope and our expectation is that Mr. Mueller will come before the committee, hopefully voluntarily, but as the chairman said, if not, by way of the issuance of a subpoena. But the committee and the American people absolutely must hear from the special counsel so he can walk the committee and the American people through the findings in his report, answer questions we have about the context, about clarifications, judgments he's made. But I think it's very important he come before the committee.
Who's to say he would comply with a subpoena? Are you convinced Robert Mueller would comply with a subpoena from the committee?
Yes, I am. Look, I think Mr. Mueller is a person of extraordinary integrity who undertook this investigation on behalf of the American people. I think he has never forgotten that this was about an attack by a foreign adversary on our democracy. He found substantial evidence of contacts between the Trump campaign and Russians and WikiLeaks, 140 or so contacts, and that the Trump campaign welcomed the assistance of the Russians because they knew they would benefit from it electorally. And then he detailed 10 specific instances of obstruction of justice by the president in an effort to stop, impede, or end this investigation. I think Mr. Mueller has a responsibility to kind of walk the American people through his findings. I think he's a person of great integrity, and I think he will come before the committee. Of course, the president originally said it was up to Mr. Barr. Then he said he didn't want him to come. Now he's back to it's up to the Attorney General. But I think in the end, it's up to Mr. Mueller to comply with the subpoena if it's issued.
In your negotiations, what is the holdup? Is it Mr. Mueller himself? Is it the Department of Justice? Is it the White House?
Well, again, I think there has been a changing conversation from the White House. The president initially said it's up to the Attorney General. The Attorney General said under oath he had no objection to Mr. Mueller coming before the committee. Then the president changed his mind and tweeted out that Mr. Mueller shouldn't appear. I don't think it's up to the president. I think it's up to Mr. Mueller to comply with the subpoena.
So why is Mueller still on the payroll at the Justice Department? I mean, does that concern you? Is that part of this overall conversation?
I think, I don't know for sure the reason, but we can assume that he's tying up loose ends and completing some work. I think the expectation is that he'll leave the Department of Justice shortly. And obviously, when he's not an employee of the Department of Justice, I think that does change the calculation. The president will have less of an ability to attempt to control this process. But look, every witness is subject to a subpoena, including Mr. Mueller. If he doesn't come voluntarily, the committee is prepared to issue a subpoena to compel his appearance before the Judiciary Committee.
The conversation this week has really kind of ratcheted up with many of your colleagues saying it's a constitutional crisis. Jamie Raskin, one of your colleagues, was quoted as saying that Trump is, quote, certainly the best argument for impeachment that there is. Do you think that Democrats should be moving closer to holding impeachment hearings based on the administration's most recent conduct?
Well, I think there's no question that this is a constitutional crisis. This is an unprecedented conduct by the president of the United States to impede oversight. And by the way, it's not just oversight that relates to the Mueller report. It's oversight that relates to the child separation policy, to conflicts of interest with his tax returns,
and does
to
all
the
of that
control of the VA.
To the level of impeachment?
Well, I think, for sure there can easily come a point where a president's conduct in preventing Congress from conducting oversight in and of itself would constitute grounds for impeachment. As you know, that was Article 3 in the Nixon impeachment. I don't know that we're there yet. We still have work to do to try to get the full Mueller report. But I think every single day the president attempts to, again, it's not stonewall the Congress, it's stonewalling the American people. We're their representatives trying to follow the facts and get the truth and demonstrate that no one is above the law. So this is a stonewalling and a cover-up and an obstruction of justice of the American people and their right to know the truth. And certainly we're going to litigate this and we're going to issue subpoenas and attempt to compel compliance with them. But there may well come a day, and it may not be far off, that this in and of itself is a separate basis to begin impeachment proceedings. We're not there yet. We still have, a process to follow. But the big question you have to ask yourself is, what is the president so afraid of in all these contexts? Why is he afraid for Congress to conduct its oversight and to bring witnesses before the committee so the American people can hear directly from them?
All right. Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, said this week that she believes the president is goading House Democrats towards impeachment. Is that what's going on here?
Well, I heard the Speaker say that. Look, I think the Speaker has also said, and I agree very strongly with this, we should never proceed with impeachment for political reasons. We should never refuse to proceed with impeachment for political reasons. We have to follow the evidence and the facts. We're still in the evidence collecting mode, and so I think we're going to make judgments where they're going to be based on the evidence we see.
Are you going to be in evidence collecting mode until November 2020, or do you think you might move into the next phase before that?
No, I mean, we have a number of mechanisms to compel compliance with our subpoenas and to accelerate that process, but we're not going to allow the president and his team to just simply delay until the next election. We have a number of tools at our disposal to compel compliance. We'll get court decisions quickly, and I think that will change the calculus for the president.
All right, Congressman David Cicilline, thank you very much for your time, sir, and I will see you